Let's talk about 2024 sewing plans. Welcome to the Sewing Report. I'm Jen. This channel is all about making sewing fun and approachable. If you are new here, yes, I am a full-time YouTube content creator. I've been doing this for about 7 years, and I've been sewing, embroidering, doing all kinds of crafts here, but I wanted to really make more of a solid plan and have some actual goals for this year. So that's why I'm here sharing them with you. Now, I know many of you found this channel through all of the embroidery machine videos, and that is awesome. We are still going to be doing that. I have a lot of videos planned with the Brother Sketch PP1 as well as the Brother PE 900. Those are my two current main embroidery machines. And I'm also going to be doing various projects and incorporating embroidery into more traditional sewing projects. But I thought about it and I was like, what are my goals? Like, what do I really want to accomplish this year for myself personally and publicly here on the channel? And I thought about it for quite a while and I came to this conclusion. I want to be a better sewist. I would say if I had to rank myself on a scale of 1 to 10, comparing myself to every other person who sews on the planet, I'm actually kind of a mediocre sewing enthusiast. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm not a sewing teacher. I'm just someone who enjoys sewing and doing embroidery, and I share everything here with you. I would rank myself probably a 4 or 5. So definitely not expert level, but that's the thing. I want to get better. I really want to improve my sewing skills, become a better sewist, incorporate better techniques, and learn some new things. And I think with what I do here, this is going to sound absolutely insane, but it's actually pretty difficult for me to carve out quality sewing time for myself. Yes, even though I am a full-time sewing content creator. There's so much else that goes into making videos about sewing for YouTube and doing social media like Instagram, TikTok, all of that jazz. And there's so much that I have to do for all of those things that's not directly sewing related that it's pretty mind-boggling. I spent so much time editing, doing stuff on the computer, and my actual sewing time is not nearly what I would like it to be. And that's tough. And for you that don't even do content creation and just sew as a hobby, and you have like a regular 9 to 5, it's tough too, because you get home from work, then you have to try to carve out time to sew, after work, on the weekends, on your vacations, that type of thing. It's actually pretty difficult for most of us to carve out some quality time that we can sit down and actually sew. One of my goals for this year is to actually get more time to do real sewing projects. Another goal is to try projects I have not done before. Sometimes I feel like I can get into kind of a safe zone with my sewing and I tend to sew the same type of things over and over again. And I'm not venturing out enough into new territory, experimenting, trying to enhance my skill set. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sew another zipper pouch. I'm just gonna sew another drawstring bag. I've already done a ton of those. And while I am gonna keep doing beginner-friendly tutorials, I personally want to try projects that are a little bit more difficult, that involve incorporating techniques and skills that I don't currently have, and just try new things. Sometimes I feel like we can get stuck into sort of a routine where we're just making the same things over and over again, and we're really not venturing outside our comfort zones. We're staying in that oh, this is just the safe things. These are the things I'm the best at. These projects are easy for me. And I tend to really fall prey to the trap of sewing things that are easy for me and not necessarily sewing things that would make me a better sewist. So another one of my goals is to get better. See if I can take it from a 4 to 5, maybe a 6, maybe a 7. I don't know. I'll probably never get to a 10, but it is what it is. I'm not going to be doing the Project Runway stuff anytime soon, that's for sure. But I just want to get better. Another thing I want to focus on is doing projects that are meaningful and have a purpose. I think one thing with sewing on social media is that we do feel a lot of pressure to churn out a lot of makes. Like I have to have something new for Instagram every day, which I clearly don't because I really don't prioritize Instagram at all, and that is pretty obvious. Doing a new project every week. And while I think that can be good for quote unquote content, there's a couple things with that I'm not really into. I don't want to sew something just to sew something. I want to actually have a purpose for it. And sometimes I do make things for fun or because I enjoy them, but then sometimes at the end you're like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do with this thing. I do tend to fall into the habit of just sewing things that would make like good all around gifts, like, again, another zipper pouch, I can gift that to somebody, that sort of thing. But I don't know, I find I'm kind of bored with my sewing. Like, if I'm being real, I'm a little bit bored with the stuff I'm making. I don't feel like it challenges me enough, and that's something that I want to try to change. But also the fact that I want to sew things that actually have some meaning for me, whether it be a gift for somebody or something that I actually need, sewing things that are practical, and really not to fall into the trap of sewing something just so I can show it off online. Like, somebody asked me in a live stream just now, have you ever made a ball gown? And I was like, no. While sewing a ball gown, I think that would be very frustrating for me. I don't really have a purpose for a ball gown at all. I work from home. I don't go to a lot of fancy functions. So for me, sewing a ball gown doesn't really make a lot of sense. And that's the thing. I think when it comes to following like sewing people online, you might be able to follow one person for one particular thing, and you can follow somebody else. There are people that make ball gowns. I'm not one of them. I think it kind of comes down to trying to find people that fit into your own sewing goals as well. So again, no ball gowns here, but I am going to try to do a little bit more clothing this year. Another goal I have is to try not, I wouldn't say I'm on a no buy year, but I would say I would like 2024 to be kind of a low buy consumption year. Again, I do have an Etsy shop, so I do buy inventory to share with all of you, like sewing supplies, fabric, but for my own personal use, I would really like to try not to buy a ton of fabric. Again, I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I'm not going to say I'm not buying any fabric, but I would like to really try to have this be a low consumption year and try to use a lot of the fabric I already have, a lot of the notions I already have, and try not to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. So you're not going to be seeing a lot of like haul videos on here, if I'm being real. Yeah, not a lot of that stuff. Trying to use a lot of the fabric that I currently have and trying to find a use for that, and sewing projects that I actually have a use or an intended purpose for, and be a little bit more meaningful with my own sewing adventures here. So hopefully you will be seeing me sew some new projects, some more difficult things for me, and I want to learn. While I don't currently have a Craftsy subscription, I do have a lot of the classes I purchased permanently, so I would like to spend a little bit more time trying to watch a lot of the classes I already purchased, to learn from some of the sewing instructors there, and kind of try to incorporate that with my own sewing projects and try out new stuff. So that's sort of my own personal goal for myself, and again for the sewing report here. But let me know what you think. Let me know, do you have your own sewing goals? What are some things you're hoping to accomplish or try to make kind of your thing this year? Are you on a low buy or no buy year? Are you trying to sew more meaningful gifts? The other thing I would say is this, is that because the cost of everything is going up, the price of fabric has risen significantly. Again, it makes sense to use more of what I have and try not to spend a ton of money on stuff I really don't need. I think it's just easy for me to get caught up in like, oh my gosh, so-and-so is making this with this fabric line. Oh my gosh, I don't have this pattern. But that's the thing, I already have so many patterns I bought and haven't done yet. I have a lot of small household items like bag patterns or like pouch stuff. So again, I'm not saying I'm not going to sew anything that I haven't sewn before, but I would like to try new things. I would like to have my projects have actual meaning, and I would like to have fun and find more time for sewing projects, because again, I know it seems nuts, but I actually don't have a lot of time to sew projects for myself. I did start a live channel last year, and we cover a lot of sewing community topics and news, and that doesn't involve actual sewing. I do have a lot of fun doing those shows, and I do think that has a purpose, talking about what's going on in the sewing industry and in the sewing community, but obviously that's like not straight up sewing. So while that is super fun, you should definitely subscribe to Sewing Report Live. It's a bit different than actually sewing projects and sharing those. And that's the thing, even when I'm sewing a project and shooting it, it takes like 3 to 4 times as long to make a project if I'm shooting it for a video than if I'm just doing it just to sew it. So there's a lot that goes into the production with making sewing videos, and they are a very difficult, like they can be a very difficult type of video to produce, especially if you're doing tutorials and that sort of thing. I want you to keep me accountable, so that's why I'm saying this publicly. I'm going to be trying some new things this year here on the channel. I will still be doing embroidery machine videos and also some product reviews and featuring cool new things. So that will not be going away, but I would like to be stretching myself a little bit more and getting out of my comfort zone when it comes to my own sewing. So I just wanted to share that with you publicly here on the Sewing Report, but let me know what you think. Is there anything you would suggest I try here on the channel? Maybe different, again, I haven't made clothes in like forever, so that's something that I'm like, wow, I really got to get back into that. But I'm looking forward to sharing this with all of you here for another great year here on YouTube. But let me know what you think. Let me know what your own goals and maybe something you would like to accomplish this year, or, you know, like, are you trying not to buy fabric? Are you trying to use what you have? And yeah, so that's what's going on here at the Sewing Report. I'll see you guys again in the next video. I'm Jen with the Sewing Report, and remember, whatever you're doing, make it fun.